Yeah, no, there's people already there.
Hey, we are live, are we?
Okay. I don't see your face.
You don't see my face? Okay.
Yeah, no, there's people already there.
There we are.
Okay, there.
Oh, I got to mute this other thing. But yeah,
Okay.
we are live. Everyone can hear us and see us. So, how are you guys doing?
Great.
Switch us to tile view.
Tile view. I thought we were on tile view. There we go. Oh wait, that's on
Okay.
Jamie. So this is my first time hosting. Hopefully nothing goes completely sideways. I barely know what I'm doing. I have our previous host from the last two live outings with us, Donna Ramone. And yeah, we're not going to fuck this up too badly. But if we do, it's part of the fun. So you guys holding up okay in this quarantine and staying sane and not going just too crazy?
Trying.
Oh,
making the effort.
Yeah, I'm there, like making an effort. I think the first few months I was not really trying. I was just like, this isn't happening. Fingers in my ears, la 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 la. Now I'm like, I'm ready for this. I'm here for it. Kurt says, I'm here. You guys can start now. By the way, I think it was Kurt that pointed out this is our live stream with the R. So we got Craven Rock, Jamie Rotante, Donna Ramone, and Jim Verman. All are Jim Ruland. So all ours. All right, you guys want to get started?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, Donna, you're up. So let me introduce you. So Donna Ramone is a writer and illustrator from Bahrain, California, and Utah, in that order. She writes from her perspective as an Arab Muslim woman and punk. She's worked with Razorcake for the past decade, probably. It's important to her that everyone know that Daryl Gusson, did I pronounce that right?
Who cares?
Good point. Is her nemesis. Daryl is her nemesis. She wishes she had a more original pen name, but 13-year-olds are stupid enough to think no one else knows who the Ramones are. However, I will add that is a way better punk name than my punk name, Wolfman Will, because mine's corny as heck. So yours is way cooler, Donna.
I fully disagree. Do you know how many people are actual first name Ramone? Like everybody. So I wish I had a cool name like Wolfman Will. But I just want to formally go on record and say that Randy's song Summer Bros is one of the best summer jams ever written. And if you disagree, we have a problem. This is at you, Daryl. So I'm going to be reading my column from issue 117, which I don't have yet. So I'm assuming nobody has it yet, but that's probably wrong. Some of you probably have it. And it is about how conspiracy theories used to be fun. Listening to Art Bell on Coast to Coast after midnight when my parents had gone to sleep was one of my first acts of rebellion. Wrapped in a blanket, I sat with my face pressed to the speaker, scared I would wake someone up if the volume was even a decibel above a whisper. Ghost stories, cryptid encounters, and alien abductions told by the people who studied and experienced all these fantastic events, swearing on their lives how real and true it all was. By the dim orange glow of the dial on my dad's hi-fi receiver, I only caught the best stories and was spared the worst. This was wild, hilarious stuff, the opposite of my mundane suburban life. Though I'm old enough to remember some of the satanic panic of the 1980s and 90s on TV news reports, I don't recall encountering anyone believing any of it, except maybe I did. My friends and I got busted leaving high school on Halloween one year, and security dragged us to the office of the school cop, Officer Wiley. Wherever he is now, I hope he rots in hell. We must have been a sight. 6 goth kids dressed as the cast of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, seated in a row on uncomfortable chairs, waiting our turn to have our truancy ticket written. While silently staring at her shoes, terrified over how pissed our parents were about to be, the cop's secretary, an ancient, mousy, frail white woman with this permanent scowl, looked over her glasses and asked, "Are you supposed to be dressed up for Halloween?" Brad Bentley was the only one brave enough to say anything to her. "Yeah, because it's Halloween." She stood up, walked around her desk to put some papers in a file. Once she was close enough so she could speak quietly, she looked directly into my face and said, "You're all going to hell." Brad Bentley was a stupidly fearless white kid and the only one not stunned into disbelief. He immediately lost his shit. He told the cop what she had said while simultaneously getting his ticket written, but Officer Wiley either didn't believe him or didn't care. Myself and a couple others also told the cop what happened while our tickets were written, trying to corroborate the story and find some small justice for a bunch of kids who just happened to love Halloween. Predictably, we got a little more than a "I didn't hear anything." ACAB, fuck the police, take every cent away from them, and fucking abolish. That wasn't actually in the column, but at the time, I assumed they all thought we were lying or simply didn't care enough about a small group of 15-year-old weirdos to exert any energy toward our concerns. But looking back, I am sure a couple of those old white God-fearing Reaganites watched Geraldo Rivera and did actually think we were potential Satanists who were definitely going to hell. A prime example of my conspiracy nonsense at the time happened right after I got my driver's license. I drove my brother and his friends to our local Gravity Hill, the illusion of stopping your car in a specific spot and having it slowly coast uphill, a mainstay teen attraction in every town in America. With 6 idiots somehow smashed together in my 1989 Civic, I stopped the car on the railroad tracks and put it in neutral, demanding seriousness to summon the ghosts of the children who died when a school bus was hit by a train to push us safely off the tracks. At least that was the story I was told. In the deep, scared silence, Sean Perry ripped a fart so loud it echoed across the California desert, and it smelled so bad it must have offended the dead kids because they never so much as nudged my little Honda. I laughed so hard I almost pissed myself. As we left to go to Denny's, I pointed to the top of a single hill in the distance. I heard Satanists do rituals on top of that hill. Cops found a stone altar and there was blood on it, and when they tested it, the blood was from a baby. Now, conspiracy theories about satanic ritual abuse are officially back and part of the Republican political discourse. The mainstay conspiracy is that Democrats are part of a Luciferian cabal. Possibly the largest online collective is the conspiracy cult QAnon, and they sincerely believe that George Soros is a Satanist who is funding a pedophile sex ring made up of mole children chained up under Central Park specifically for the Clintons and the Hollywood elite to have sex with and later murder and also eat because they're cannibals. They consider themselves QAnons. They consider themselves researchers, and they get all their information from an anonymous person posting on a lawless message board and super long YouTube videos and random people on Twitter. They also think John F. Kennedy Jr. didn't die in a plane crash off of Martha's Vineyard. He's secretly a Republican, and he's also helping Trump in his quest to save the mole children. Some of them believe that he was dressed as Santa Claus during a Trump rally. All of this sounds fully made up and very stupid and easy to ignore, except Comet Ping Pong, the pizza place in DC where the local punks throw their shows, it was shot up by a man trying to save those imaginary mole children. His entire motive came from these theories, which are based entirely on social media repetition, the new brand of conspiracy media. Art Bell, who died in 2018, and Coast to Coast have been fully eclipsed and replaced by the likes of Alex Jones and InfoWars. It stings to see how much someone I once loved and enjoyed is reflected in such a delusional, xenophobic, racist con man. Jones screams on YouTube about how substances like fluoride in drinking water is turning frogs gay, Hillary Clinton is an actual literal demon, and that climate change is a hoax for governments to charge a carbon tax. Yet in both Art Bell's time and Alex Jones's, there was always the bigoted through line of anti-Semitic discourse about the World Bank, Bible prophecies about the rapture supporting the Israeli apartheid, or the terrifying racist belief of an inevitable upcoming race war. After 9/11, both camps were very vocal about it being an inside job, yet also firmly believed that Muslims are in league with Satan and are working alongside Democrats to establish Sharia law in America. Conspiracy theorists today foam at the mouth while ranting about a white genocide. Flat earthers, when pushed, will eventually refute obvious evidence using Bible quotes and xenophobic conspiracies about evil Jews controlling NASA or whatever. Republican Party voters are now fully immersed in evangelical Protestant conspiracy thinking. Whether they're insisting on opening up the country because Jesus will protect them from COVID-19, or still somehow insisting Obama was a Muslim born in Kenya, it's all tied to biased views against everyone who isn't them. It's difficult to confront and accept a world that's chaotic and unfair, completely different from your understanding of it. How do any of us grapple living in a world where the police murder innocent people, industrialization is killing the planet, or gunmen can execute children? It's easier to believe these things are lies. It's easier to believe those lies are spun by evil people. It's easier to write off the suffering of marginalized people if you think they're sinister, Satan-worshipping pedophiles, and thus can righteously justify furthering their suffering. At the end of the day, I don't think I ever really truly believed in ghosts or aliens or any of the conspiracies I once repeated, except maybe that one paranoid week that I'd rather not talk about. Now, it's impossible to overlook how discriminatory and intolerant the whole mess is. For a time, it shaped my identity and personality, one that I still haven't fully shed. Instead, I've morphed that prior understanding into researching their bullshit and putting them on blast. We can't let conspiracy thinking go unchecked because we can't allow the poison messages within them to spread. And for fuck's sake, turn off Ancient Aliens. That shit is racist as hell. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. That was great.
Thank you.
So, do you have any like favorite like cryptids or anything that you still are like, all this other like new conspiracy theory stuff is total bullshit? But is there any one that has your heart? Like,
ooh, let's be okay. So cryptids in general still very much have my heart because you got like that secret hope. The one that I love the most is Mothman.
That's a great choice.
I know. So the Mothman Festival every year is usually pretty close to my birthday. And there was a time where I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to spend a stupid amount of money to go to rural West Virginia to sit with a bunch of people who are going to be talking about Mothman.
Okay, so do you think it's... Sorry, I was going to say, do you think the Mothman is like mass hysteria? Because it's obvious something happened in that town.
Oh, for sure. And I think it was, people did actually see something, and a lot of people think it was this type of crane. If you read John Keel's book, The Mothman Prophecies, which I cannot not recommend more, it is total garbage. It's unbelievable nonsense. At a certain point, it doesn't even like talk about Mothman anymore, and then it's like talking about UFO abductees, and the UFOs look like ostriches. It was this whole thing. Anyway, don't read it. It's not good. Yeah, it's again not good, but. But the Mothman stories are so good, and it's just one of those things where it's so fascinating because so many people collectively together saw stuff, experienced stuff, and then a bridge went down.
Whoa.
And then all of it just kind of collectively stopped. And a lot of these people are not your usual conspiracy people. So
wow.
That's why I like Mothman.
I didn't realize.
Maybe I'll get a Mothman tattoo.
That would be cool. I never realized there was such depth to the Mothman stories. Like, there are a couple people who swear they've seen the Jersey Devil and things like that. But like, to have like a collective experience, that's pretty unique and unusual.
Yeah, I just watched the Unsolved Mysteries episode from like 1997 about the skunk ape. That one's pretty good too.
Wait, there's an episode.
That's what you.
Yeah, the skunk ape is my neighbor. I live in Florida. That's like my backyard.
Yeah, I don't actually know what the Everglades look like.
I've been
But
there.
in my mind, I'm like, are they dense enough to hide an 8-foot tall gorilla man?
Absolutely.
Oh.
I've taken.
Okay, cool.
I took a boat ride out there when I was a kid because I lived very close because I was in South Florida. And basically all of South Florida is just like used to be the Everglades before they drained it and built land on it. But yeah, you can take like a sawgrass boat ride and hang out with the alligators and see giant stalks of grass growing from the ground and traipse around in the mud. It's fun. I'd recommend doing it if you ever go down there. Or not. Don't ever visit Florida. That's your choice. I support that.
Well, I was going to jokingly say, like, well, you guys need to get your shit together with this pandemic, but also, like, Utah has to get its shit together with this pandemic, so.
Yeah.
I was going to say something morbid, like, well, is Florida going to be there when I want to come and see it? Or is it going to, like, be under, like, I don't know, underwater?
Yeah, Gainesville's going to be beachfront property someday. By the way, Daryl had a comment for you, Donna. What did he say? Let me find that. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, he says Summer Bro sucks.
So he was planning to go fuck himself? Is that what he was going to say?
I think that's exactly what he meant.
Okay, that sounds great.
And
everybody should listen to Summer Bros.
Yeah, and Davey Mook says if you're in Portland, Maine, go to the Cryptozoology Museum. I'm glad you clarified that it was in Maine and not the other one.
Not the other Portland. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Portland, Maine has a cryptozoology museum, and it is phenomenal. There's artifacts in there. Like, here's the gun I used to hunt Bigfoot.
That is amazing.
And, like, drawings people did, and there was in the Mothman case, there was a memorial to this dog that died, and they were like the first victim of the Mothman.
Oh my god! Now I want to go to Maine.
No, you should go. Portland, Maine is also very beautiful. Got great friends there. Razor Cake contributors live there. Liz Prince lives there now.
Oh, excellent.
There you go.
I didn't know that. All right. Well, thanks, Donna.
I could talk about this shit all day. Right after I talked about how bad it is.
Yeah. Stay tuned for the after party. We'll set up a Zoom call where we can share stories about our favorite cryptids that we haven't scheduled at all. All right.
I would do that. I miss people.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we're getting to talk today. Craven, would you like to go up next?
Sure, yeah, I'll go next.
All right, let me read your bio first. Since you sent that to me and just updated it like right before we're going to go live. So Craven Rock is a writer and the author of the long-running zine Ease of Ass, which, by the way, is the greatest name for a zine ever. Don't try to argue with me. I've already made up my mind. And he's also the author of the book Juggalo Country on Microcosm. He's been published in Razor Cake, Best Music Writing 2008. Actually, I think I have that book. I'll have to check that out, see if you're in there. And the monarchreview.com. He also produces 2 Paychecks podcasts. He's a hoarder of rock and roll in all mediums and was learning to kick ass before COVID-19. Put a stop to his Russian martial arts class. He's currently sending up 2 angry emails a day to the unemployment office. Craven, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'll be reading from my book, Juggalo Country. It's just kind of like me going hard with the Juggalos and seeing what they're all about. Yeah, if you've ever seen the Juggalo logo, it's a man running with a hatchet, but our editor, Todd from Razor Cake, was like, once said, oh yeah, that's somebody running with books, is what he thought it was. That's all I'm gonna say there. But that's when he announced me when I did a reading in LA, he said that he thought it was running with books, and he said it in a much funnier way. But I did want to bring that up. It's not running with books, actually. They haven't been running with my book very long, very much anyway. So but anyway, here we go. I'm gonna read just kind of like a sort of just an anecdote from the gathering of the Juggalos. And I'm going to start out with a quote from Insane Clown Posse. And I guess I should say, for people who don't know, Juggalos are fans of Insane Clown Posse, and that's what the whole deal is. It's a horrorcore rap group. Let's see. Truth is, we follow God. We've always been behind him. The dark carnival is God, and may all Juggalos find him. May the Juggalos find God. We're not sorry that we tricked you. The carnival will carry on. Suck my nuts, bitch. Fuck you. That's from the track Thy Unveiling, which I'm going to read about here eventually. But let's see. Okay. The love wagon drives by slowly. Now, I explained earlier in the book that the love wagon is like a hayride without any hay on it. It's just a guy pulling a tractor, pulling a big old trailer, and it's got Juggalos all over it. The love wagon drives by slowly. Fuck your walking! Fuck your walking! Fuck your walking! Juggalos chant from the wagon. I grab some of the ever-present trash on the ground and whip it at the young lows. That's short for Juggalos, a low. That's what you call other Juggalos. Short. Let's get on! Damon shouts and starts limp jogging, his left leg stiff. He was my illustrator and my best friend. We climb on the love wagon. Despite the rule, we're not supposed to when it's moving. Like all the rules at the gathering, it's just there to be broken. It's mostly a younger group of lows on the hard wooden wagon, and it's complete chaos, except for the unison of their chanting. The wagon turns a corner, passing the bomb house. There, a low and a let set up a table with probably 50 assorted sizes and colors of plastic bottles filled with water, all for the sole purpose of chucking them at the love wagon. Damon and I duck and cover our heads as the love wagon riders take this barrage like soldiers. The young lows smiling and flipping off the offense, throwing back the bottles. The love wagon continues as the Juggalos chant in unison, "Fuck your walking! Fuck your walking!" They chant to lows walking. "Fuck your camping! Fuck your camping!" They shout to lows camping. "Fuck your corn dog! Fuck your corn dog!" They chant to a guy with a corn dog. And of course, the primal call of "Show your tits!" when there are tits. So lots of that going on. "That smells good! That smells good! That smells good!" They chant to a grill full of wieners. "Old school titties! Old school titties! Old school titties!" They chant as we pass a completely naked 60-year-old displaced hippie and her fully clothed partner. When we round the curve, the second stage comes into view. A huge flank of lows and lets emerge from behind a staggered row of tents and bombard us with countless water balloons. The scene comparable to one of those old medieval movies where a phalanx of archers shoot a ton of arrows all at once, blackening the sky. We're getting soaked and laughing hysterically at the love wagon's honorable defeat. Then we jump off the love wagon and get down to business. "Titties, titties," we hear as the love wagon fades into the distance. What was the question I was set out to ask? Oh yeah, what is Shangri-La? Shangri-La is, I think you have to know, but earlier it's Shangri-La is the afterlife for Juggalos. I think I'm going to get into that here, but I don't really remember exactly. I take out the tape recorder and start asking questions. Shangri-La and what it means to me is all about karma, you know. A Juggalo named Jason21 tells us. Violent J, he wanted to show two different afterlives. And personally, I really don't believe in an afterlife, but Shangri-La is like a paradise where you can be at Hakuna Matata, a good state of mind. No worries, you know. You're just there kicking it. You've got Hell's Pit and you've got Shangri-La. And you don't want any Juggalos to go to Hell's Pit, because if you listen to the CDs, Shangri-La is all about the Juggalos, all about the Juggalos. And Hell's Pit, It's just all dark and evil. Many juggalos repeat this just kicking it phrase or say just chillin' when they talk of what Shangri-La means to them. Some of them believe it's something in the future. Others, like Jason, believe it's in the present. But they all see Shangri-La as a place of respite and peace, a place where they can be themselves in a world where they feel like outcasts. I believe the world will end. It will be destroyed, taking all the people who aren't followers of the Dark Carnival, Blood Rain says as he sips on my whiskey bottle. Then a new world will be made here, which will be Shangri-La for juggalos. I ask him about good people who aren't juggalos, if they'll be saved and allowed entry into this post-Earth afterlife. I feel that he thinks I'm referring to myself, but I'm actually referring to someone more like his grandma, who I'm assuming isn't a juggalo. Coming from a Pentecostal background, I know full well the weight of having all the truth. Knowing family and friends are headed toward eternal damnation for being non-believers can take on a heavy toll on the believer. Yeah, if they're good people, they'll go too, Blood Rain says and points a thumb to his buddy. Can he get a drink? Sure, I say, and he passes it. His painted up friend takes a humble swig and hands it back to me. The good people clause may refer to what Violent J is saying about how juggalos don't exist who don't rock the hatchet gear and have never heard of ICP, and even some juggalos who don't even know they're juggalos. I've heard several juggalos repeat this, saying they know juggalos who have never heard of ICP. I think what they're getting at is there's some kind of Shangri-La pass for ninjas. That's something else they call each other. They call each other ninjas. Like your family and friends who don't willingly participate in the Dark Carnival. Nevertheless, a lot of juggalos I talk to find Blood Rain's apocalyptic take on Shangri-La controversial. They think he's a little out there, and they don't like the implied Judgment Day. Despite Violent J's hell and damnation tenets, most juggalos are more flippant about it, and all shrug off the afterlife aspect of it together. Or more flippant about it and more flippant about it all and shrug off the afterlife aspect altogether. It's a big-ass stepping stone, says Topher, a chubby, warm-hearted juggalo from Cincinnati. It's like the dude who said, we're all going to take over the world, blah-de-blah-de-blah. I really don't think that's what needs to happen. I just think it's a whole mentality of freedom. Once everyone feels like they're free, then they are. If you don't feel free, you're not free. That's what freedom's all about. I don't really see it as an afterlife, says Dom from Milwaukee. The Gathering is Shangri-La because it's the happiest place on earth. This could be Shangri-La. Heaven could be Shangri-La. Whatever keeps them out of my face could be Shangri-La. On a sensational level, it's disappointing that the Juggalos' Dark Carnival comes across as so simple to them, that despite the Judeo-Christian overtones, Shangri-La means just kicking it with your homies at a place like the Gathering, or just people taking care of each other, like it should be, as another load told me. But it is heartening to think that the Dark Carnival and the Juggalo family stem from a basic human need. They come to this understanding when they see an ICP show. Wait, I lost my place, sorry. To most Juggalos, but it is heartening that the Dark Carnival and the Juggalo family stem from a basic human need. To most Juggalos, the two are one and the same. They come to this understanding when they see an ICP show or attend the Gathering and realize their faith and family are intertwined. We are in fucking Shangri-La right now. Juggalo Island all day, JMO from Atlanta tells me. This is what I fell into, and something finally, sorry, what's wrong with me today? This is what I fell into. I fell into something and finally felt like something accepted me. You know what I mean? I can't imagine heaven being much better. If you see somebody who's too fucked up, please get them some water and let them live, he adds. Well, that's probably what I'm going to read. But that's a bit about the faith of the Juggalos. You're muted.
God damn it. Well, what I was going to say was, hey, that was great. Thank you.
I loved it.
Yeah, me too.
I think that sets a record so far for the most number of F-bombs on our streams, while simultaneously being the most wholesome content I've heard so far on this whole thing. That was great. So being a juggalo is all about, being your true self and finding your family, your weird hatchet throwing family.
Yeah, that's the long and short of it, pretty much. Yeah.
That's good stuff. Hey, so where can I get a copy of your book?
It's on Microcosm Press. You can find a copy there.
Cool. I'm going to have to do that.
Or Microcosm Publishing. Microcosm Press is something else. I'm sorry.
I'm scared to find out what that is. God, you Google something, you never know what you're going to get. Let's see here. Kurt Moore said he reviewed it for Razor Cake. He said it was quite good, so I'll take his word for it. Plus, I really like the piece that you read, so thanks again, Craven. That was great. Jamie, would you like to read now?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Sure. Let me read your bio that you provided me. All right. So Jamie L. Rotante is a New York-based comic book writer, editor, and proofreader. Oh, I think Jim's muted. Did you mean Jim? Were you having something? Did you have something to say? Oh, I thought you. Sorry to interrupt. I saw you making a face. I was like, oh no. All right.
Oh, Will, you're muted.
Down here. What is going on here?
Now you're good.
All right. So So Jamie is a comic book writer, editor, and proofreader. In her free time, she has also written about punk music, mental health, and women's issues. For the past few years, she's written a bi-monthly column for Razor Cake's website called One Punk's Look at Social Anxiety, Neuroticism, and Other Fun Stuff, which she explores her various battles with mental health issues and neuroses, a topic that is now more pertinent than ever, and I agree. All right, Jamie, go ahead.
Great. So this article was actually not for Razor Cake. This was something I published a few years ago, and it was probably my first time ever writing something this personal, and it was actually what kind of inspired me and gave me the sort of courage to continue doing this on Razor Cake. So here we go. It's midnight on a Friday, and I feel like I'm 12 years old again. I'm gripping the edges of my bathroom sink with the door locked, crying and gasping for air. My heart is pounding in my chest and I dry heave. I wouldn't say it feels like I'm dying, but it does feel like both my brain and my heart are going to explode out of my body and collide together midair, like a dazzling light show of fucked up thoughts and mixed emotions. I think this might be what you call a panic attack. I'm no stranger to these feelings. I dealt with them throughout most of my life, but you never get comfortable with having a panic attack. A comfortable panic attack. That's practically an oxymoron. A reason I have anxiety is because of that constant inner feeling of extreme uncomfortableness that rests at the bottom of my stomach, waiting to be released every now and then. When that discomfort decides to rear its ugly head, it pushes its way up through my abdomen, yanking on my intestines, forcing itself up through my esophagus, finally pushing itself out of my mouth, and then nothing. Discomfort squeaks its way out into the ether, leaving me gagging and breathless for nothing, reducing me to just a shell, doubled over in a ball of tears with a dry, parched throat. Maybe if something solid, or hell, even liquid came out, I'd feel more satisfied. Being sick also triggers my anxiety and puts me on edge, but there's always that relief of expelling evil from inside you. The nothingness that comes out is just a reminder that no matter how hard I try, I will never truly be free from my internalized awkwardness and lack of comfort I battle with every day. But why? Why does this happen? Is there any particular reason for these attacks and how they seemingly occur out of nowhere, randomly? There are a fuck ton of reasons, actually. All I need is one feeling, often self-imposed and embedded in my brain, about how I'm worthless or an afterthought. That feeling then collides with repressed memories of past attacks and similar feelings, culminating in an awful marriage with the constant uncertainty about my future and any extra deep-seated feelings of inadequacy and resentment. It can be thoughts about how I'm not wanted or that I'm missing out on something. They poke their way into my skull over and over and over again, no matter how many times I try to push them away. Like an old friend from childhood whose rough, strong fingers would poke my back until I finally snapped at her. A memory I would replay over and over in my tiny child mind until I exhausted myself from mental self-punishment for my harsh behavior. Other times it's a news report dictating some kind of doomsday scenario that repeats itself over and over in my brain until I'm ready to pop. Kind of like every news report right now. Or bad news about a loved one's health, or social media updates on sickly animals. Oftentimes it's heavily dictated by PMS. Mixed emotions of anger, sadness, and frustration running at an all-time high during that time, coupled with cramps that feel like hands grasping into my ovaries, twisting them around and thrashing them against my stomach like two bikers in a bar fight. Most often, it's a feeling of loneliness and an infinite sadness. But don't let that flowery language mislead you. It's not all soft grunge, 90s melancholia, pretty sad girls in baby doll dresses and flower crowns. It's not a sepia-toned fantasy to write a poem about. It's real, genuine feeling of complete and utter emptiness. It's an inability to connect with real physical beings that surround and care for you. A gut instinct to push anyone away that may want to help, but a terrorizing fear of what may happen if they leave. It's like sitting in a big empty room where nothing feels like home, and the walls are moving in closer and closer and closer. Kind of like the Roy's castle level in Super Mario World, minus the Roy Orbison look-alike turtle. But those aren't really reasons, are they? They're causes. Self-inflicted mental breakdowns triggered by external circumstances that catch me off guard, knock me to my feet, pick me up again, and propel me straight to the bathroom where I end up a red, swollen mess in front of my mirror, praying that I can get out of my own head and clean myself up in time so no one will see me and ask what's going on. Think having a panic attack is rough? Try attempting to come up with an escape plan and believable excuse about allergies acting up, especially at like midnight. It's an extra layer of anxiety icing on top of the panic attack cake. I guess I don't know the exact reasons as to why my brain is hardwired to work against me whenever it processes information that doesn't fit into my sense of comfort. I'm not sure why my body and my mind decide to go into battle whenever they feel like it, like a toxic relationship between a husband and wife who get their kicks from picking fights with one another. It's not for fun either, and the makeup sex is never satisfying. All I'm left to do is deal. I'm still in the bathroom. I'm still fighting myself. I try to focus on thoughts that will distract me from my brain's attacks against my body and my well-being, and I begin a series of internal discussions. I think of funny stories from work. I think about an interesting article I read on the AV Club earlier that day. I wax poetic about 90s sitcoms. I remember images of non-sickly animals on social media. I play some solo rounds of Fuck, Marry, Kill. I think about writing, remembering every detail so that when this is all past, I can recount it in some way that might make sense to anyone, but mostly just to me. I brush my hair over and over and over. I act as my own spiritual advisor and guidance counselor and talk myself through my attack. Eventually, my breathing becomes a little more normal and consistent. Eventually, my face is slightly less red, splotchy, and tear-stained. Eventually, I emerge from the bathroom. What's wrong? I collapse in tears again, but this time it's because I know someone is there. Someone does care. I'm not alone in this world with my fucked up thoughts to guide me, but I'm a little mad at myself for letting it be seen. Other times I collapse alone in my bed until my sadness exhausts me to slumber. I'm also a little mad at myself for not just telling someone, anyone, what I've just been through. But I always wake up. There's always another side. A cliched light at the end of the tunnel. The attacks always end, even if the anxiety remains. I'll always come out the winner, just by coming out of it. And that's it.
That was incredible.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you.
Okay, my clap's coming late because I was turning on everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, I managed to click on my face instead of my unmute button, so I started clapping before. I'm getting the hang of this computer stuff. I know I just got my own computer for the first time in my life, but I'm navigating it just fine.
You're doing great.
Thank you. By the way, Jamie, I really appreciate what you're writing about.
Thank you.
I have someone in my life that struggles with anxiety as well, and reading your work really helps me understand what they're going through better. So And I know there are other people who are going through the exact same thing that you're going through, and I'm sure they're benefiting from hearing someone else talk about it as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that.
Cool. Yeah. So I think a bunch of people in the chat are, or at least one person in the chat is shocked to hear that Roy Koopa is named after Roy Orbison. People don't know that.
I did not know this.
Yeah, all the Koopa Juniors in Super Mario 3 are named after musicians. Like Lemmy Koopa is named after Lemmy Kilmister.
Yeah.
Iggy Koopa named after Iggy Pop, and I'm trying to remember the other names. There's Lemmy is the one that sticks out in my mind.
Rick V is gonna tell us.
Let's see what he says. Yeah. He said that Iggy was one of them. He said that all the Koopalings are named after musicians. I forget they're called Koopalings.
I do too.
Yeah, it's a classic. Wanda is named after, I forget who Wanda was named after. I'm sure Rick will tell us in just a moment. Wendy is named after Wendy O. Williams. That's right.
Oh,
Get the fuck out.
Donna's mind is blown.
Yo, who fucking making Super Mario Brothers was like, yeah, the Plasmatics.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Like, I think it was probably just like, without looking it up, maybe it's the English translator was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to name them all after my favorite musicians. Like, there was a Mega Man game where the translator just went rogue and was like, I'm naming all the bad guys after members of Guns N' Roses. Like, he did that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, thanks for reading, Jamie. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Jim, you're up. You ready? All right.
I'm ready.
Cool. So Jim is the co-author of Do What You Want with Bad Religion, which will be published next month on August 18th. And he's also the author of My Damage with Keith Morris, the founding vocalist of Black Flag, Circle Jerks, and Off. He's the author of the novel Force of Fortune and the short story collection Big Lonesome. His essays and reviews regularly appear in Los Angeles Times, Los Angeles Review of Books, and of course, Razorcake. He's a veteran of the U.S. Navy and lives and works in San Diego, California.
All right. Well, thanks so much for that introduction, and thanks for all the readings this afternoon. That was rad. I'm going to read today from Do What You Want, which is actually going to be the first time that I read from this book in front of a camera, in front of other people. Besides myself, I've read it out loud already a couple of times. I'm going to just read the introduction, which is only a couple of pages. So I thought I would talk about the book a little bit beforehand to give you a little bit of introduction. The book, Do What You Want, is a kind of a hybrid between a biography and an oral history. The band didn't want something that was a real boring history, but they also didn't want something that kind of came across like a tell-all oral history with a bunch of sleazy stories and things like that. They wanted something that was going to be more comprehensive, but of course the members of Bad Religion tell their own stories in the book. I talked to everybody in the band, and I talked to almost everyone who had been in the band, and they were all great. I was approached about this project about a little over 3 years ago, and I've pretty much spent all of that time talking to people, learning about religion, and writing this book. So if you don't know anything about Bad Religion, you won't be able to say that after this introduction. And hopefully, whether you're a huge fan of the band, I know if some of you are out there, thank you for your support. Or if you're just getting to know them, this would be a really good tease for you. So this is the cover based on a Bad Religion song, not a Alton Crowley quote. And the introduction is called A Dangerous Dissonance. This isn't art, this is suicide. These words, snarled into a mic in a sweltering garage by Greg Graffin, Bad Religion's 15-year-old singer, were the first the band recorded. The song, Sensory Overload, was written by 17-year-old Brett Garowitz while he and Greg were students at El Camino Real High School in Woodland Hills, California. The statement lands with the blunt force of a teenage manifesto, but is layered with truth, taunts, and misconceptions. The year was 1980, and there was nothing new about punk. The Damned had made their first appearance in LA 3 years before, and the Clash came not long after. The Sex Pistols had already walked off the stage forever at Winterland back in January of 1978. The Ramones were on the verge of releasing their fifth studio album, and English post-punk rockers Bauhaus, Susie and the Banshees, and The Cure were staging their invasion of New York. Yet, in Los Angeles, punk rock remained a vital force. Original LA punk bands like the Screamers, the Weirdos, the Bags, and the Plugs had to make room for hardcore upstarts like Black Flag and the Adolescents. Wary of the violent fans, these bands were attracting bookers and owners at many music venues banned hardcore punk rockers from performing. And there were few places for groups just starting out to play. But that didn't stop new acts from forming. Fueled by fans farther from Hollywood's epicenter, surfers and skaters brought new levels of athleticism and aggression to shows. The only thing that seemed to set Bad Religion apart from its Southern California contemporaries was the fact that they were kids from Woodland Hills, a suburban community deep in the western reaches of the San Fernando Valley, a place maligned for its cookie-cutter homogeneity. If Hollywood was LA's punk playground, its antithesis was the Valley. So how did four high school kids, two of whom would drop out of school, find a way to separate from the pack? They weren't the first punk rockers from the Valley, nor were they the last. The sounds they made in their blast furnace of a garage were not particularly original, nor did the band's members ooze the kind of musical talent that signaled a brilliant career. In fact, some of them were just becoming familiar with their gear. But they had one asset that made them stand out from the start: their intelligence. In 1980, punk still had the power to provoke, and Bad Religion's evocative opening salvo suggested a shift from punk as artful expression to a philosophical imperative. While Sensory Overload, like much of Bad Religion's early material, walks the line of nihilist negation, it stops well short of declarations of smash the state or fuck the LAPD that do nothing to advance an argument and are anathema to critical thinking. Fusing the creativity of LA punk bands like the Germs and X with the ferocity of their hardcore offspring, Bad Religion wrote songs that demanded its listeners think about the world around them and their place in it. This was a band with a unique worldview that had something to say. Their name and uncompromising logo, a white cross with a red slash through it, known today throughout the world as the Crossbuster, signaled, signaled their rejection of the status quo at a time when Christian conservatism was bleeding into mainstream American culture. Bad Religion arrived at just the right moment to say, I think about what's true and what's lies. This outlook commanded the attention of millions of angry and increasingly disaffected youth, not just in the Valley or Los Angeles or even Southern California, but all over the world. Bad Religion's subversive spirit and thought-provoking lyrics made it okay to be rebellious and intellectual. The music is punk, but the message is universal, and the lyrics in the band's impressive catalog of songs are more relevant now than ever. That's what makes Bad Religion's bold beginning so ironic. Its first recorded recording wasn't suicide, but the start of a 40-year career in rock and roll that continues to this day. It wasn't easy. Along the way, they broke up, drifted apart, and came back stronger than before. This is the story of how a group of teenagers from the Valley took LA by storm, lost everything, and worked their way back with a series of influential albums that changed the way America thinks about punk rock. But to understand Bad Religion's unique sound, how Bad Religion's unique sound paved the way for the mainstream success of punk rock bands that came after them, you have to go back to a blistering hot garage deep in the San Fernando Valley. That's the end of the intro. So the book goes all the way back to the beginning and stretches to about 15 minutes before the pandemic is what it feels like.
That was awesome, Jim.
Thank you.
I've got my book already pre-ordered, but for everyone else who isn't me and is super obsessed with Bad Religion, where can we get the book?
You can pre-order it from your favorite. You can email a local independent bookstore, which is probably the best way. So you support the bookseller that's in your neighborhood or your community, or you can order it from Bookshop, which is like a new independent initiative that helps to support independent bookstores all over the country. But of course, it's also available from major retailers.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, I did actually follow the link to the website you just mentioned to help find independent bookstores, and I didn't realize that I had so many independent bookstores near me, um, especially in a city like Jacksonville, which I didn't think I had more than one or two. So that's really cool. So if you don't want to
Yeah.
support Amazon, like I may or may not have, because I don't feel like leaving my house. If you feel comfortable going out to an independent bookstore right now, please do that. I'm sure they could use your
And
money.
a lot of the bookstores, I know some near me they ship. And even your favorite bookstore in your favorite city, like for example, Powell's, they will ship to you. Skylight
Oh,
Books in LA will ship to you, probably once in your town. And there's a lot of people are also like, even when they didn't ship before, they ship now because of the pandemic.
very cool. I'll have to call up one of my local bookstores and see if they can help me out. Before we get much further, I just want to show off this T-shirt that I've had to celebrate books. Jim's new book. I have this Bad Religion shirt right here that I've had since I was 14 years old, and I'm 35 now. So this shirt is 21 years old, and it's just covered with holes, and it's super rad. So I'm really excited about your book, Jim. Do you
Excited
have a
too.
favorite Bad Religion album?
You know what? I do. But one of my favorites is the one that got me into Bad Religion, and that was it's actually, I didn't realize at the time, but it's their EP, Back to the Known, and it's only got 5 songs on it, and it was recorded at a very unusual time in Bad Religion's history. But I was in the Navy. I was at a skinhead's house, and I made a copy of it on a tape, and took that tape with me to Virginia when I left the Navy and went to school in Southwest Virginia, where there was not much punk to be found. I did find it. You can always find it. But that tape really helped get me through those first few years when I felt very isolated from all the cool stuff I'd experienced in Southern California when I was a salty sailor.
Awesome.
So yeah, Back to the Known is my favorite. That's the one that has Frogger on it, um, which is kind of an anomaly because Greg Hetson wrote that song. Um, I don't think he wrote any other songs.
Wow.
No, he didn't. I'm sorry, he didn't write that song. He helped write it though.
I didn't realize it. Yeah, because Greg Hudson only has helped, I think, with like a few guitar solos here and there, and he doesn't usually get any songwriting credits.
That's correct.
Yeah. Also, that's the EP with "Along the Way" on it too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've never seen them play that one live. I'd love to see that one day.
Yeah, that's the problem with Bad Religion is they have such a large catalog that that you never and they change up their set quite often. So you never know what you're going to hear, and sometimes that means you won't hear your favorite song. But when there's close to 400 songs, that's a little bit of a crapshoot. But they do enjoy going back to an album and dusting off a song that maybe they never played live before, and then bringing it back again.
Yeah, I love those deep cuts. I'm always surprised when I see them and they play something off like "How Could Hell Be Any Worse?" Because I think they weren't like that hugely popular at the time that came out, and it was only with Suffer that they became like a big popular band, right?
Yes and no. How Could Hell Be Any Worse was very big in Germany and other places in Europe.
Wow, I didn't realize.
So the band had like a lot of ups and downs up until Suffer, and they went to Europe in I believe 1989, the year after Suffer came out, and had tons of fans going back to How Could Hell Be Any Worse.
Wow, I had no idea. Yeah, you're schooling me right now on Battle and stuff. I love it. Now I'm like super excited to get that book in my hands.
Well,
Is
that's
it
good.
okay to talk about? I'm sorry, I was going to say, is it okay to ask about the self-repressed new wave album they put out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a more like a prog rock record. It was called Into the Unknown, and for many years they denied ever having. They basically when it bombed, they destroyed all the copies,
So they
and
did destroy the copies.
then after everything like the CD revolution happened, they were like, no, we're not going to make CDs of that. And it wasn't until they put their big box set together. Um, I forget how many years ago.
I think it was either 2010 or 2012. I was super broke and couldn't get it.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Goes for like
But
600 on
they put
Discogs.
it back in there, and I think now they feel better about the records than they did then. And the last time that they were playing, in fact, the last time I saw them before the pandemic, they even had a song from that album, Dichotomy, that they played.
Really?
Yeah. And,
Wow. Yeah,
but
I have.
for years, the only way you could hear it was on YouTube, listening to people's
I got a bootleg of it at some point. I have a bootleg somewhere of a live show where they played like half the album, and it wasn't bad. The songs sound great live.
Yeah, it's good. I only heard it once, but my coworker put it on, and it was like I remember it as new wave, but that was a really long time ago. But I thought this is a good album. I don't know why anybody would be upset about it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's still a controversial album within the band in terms of its merits. But um, what happened is when they were playing those songs when the album came out, they just played them without a keyboard, and they sound like they blend right in with the Bad Religion set. But when you put on the album and you hear the da, 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 it's very weird. Very weird.
I liked it. Of course, I'm like hardcore Bad Religion fanboy over here, so I'd like anything they put out.
But well, Greg Graffin, he's a talented piano player, and you can hear piano on How Could Help You Any Worse on several songs.
Oh, I'll have to give that another listen. I forgot about that. You can also pre-order his first solo album right now. I just got an email from their mailing list that they're reissuing Greg Graffin's first album, solo album, which I have on CD, and there's a lot of piano on that.
There is.
All right, Daryl says Chasing the Wild Goose is the jam, and I'm going to agree with him. I
I'm
personally
going to disagree because he doesn't like Summer Bros.
Wait, so this whole time were you guys talking about Randy? Is that a cover?
Yeah.
We did. Wait, is that an original song by Randy?
Yeah.
Holy shit! This whole time, yeah. No, Daryl, you're wrong. Get out of here. Randy are the
Exactly.
best band on the planet. I'm obsessed.
Summer Bros is the best summer jam.
Summer of Bros, Bros, fuck yeah.
The bros, and we're all bros.
Yeah,
Bro
exactly.
is a gender neutral term when used by Randy.
Only by Randy.
Only by Randy.
Otherwise, if you ask someone how many bros have you slept with, I mean, what's the gender of that? I don't know anymore because Randy says it's the summer of bros, and I'm confused. Thanks, Donna. I almost forgot. Jamie, you are also working on a book, or have already completed it.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I write for Archie Comics, and our first ever original graphic novel is coming out in September, and it's Betty and Veronica, The Bond of Friendship, and it's clearly not like what I read. Much more uplifting and fun and family friendly, but that's coming out in September.
Super cool.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna have to check that out because I hear lots of great things about Archie Comics these days.
We're doing some cool stuff.
Definitely, lots of very progressive, interesting, challenging material that's out there for, especially for Betty and Veronica that I've been hearing about. So I will definitely make a point to read that.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna read a thing that we usually read on the Razor Cake podcast, and I'd like to thank Donna for passing it over to me.
Oh, no, you shouldn't, because I never even thought to do it the 2 other times we had readings. And you were like, Donna, don't you think we should say this? And I was like, oh, Will, look at you being better at this than me. So, yeah, maybe we should read anything to promote Razor Cake on the YouTube.
Did you guys know we're a bona fide 501c3? That's really cool.
What?
And you can also get a subscription for as low as $17 that is sent bi-monthly. Isn't that amazing?
I am
That is amazing.
Shocked and delighted.
You can also read more from Jim and Donna in the magazine as well on a bi-monthly basis. So yeah, hey you, yes you, anyone has the potential to be a Razor Cake contributor. If you don't see or hear what you'd like covered, lend us a helping hand. If you're knowledgeable about DIY punk or open to the editing of your work, can meet deadlines and follow instructions, we'll consider your contribution. We have openings for interviews, articles, podcasts, photos, comics, web columns. Shout out to Jamie, our web columnist here, also me. Videos, reviews, and editorial illustrations. All creative content is done on a volunteer basis. Razor Cake does not tolerate racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, or ableist bullshit. And we've held these ethics since our start in 2001. Diversity makes us a better punk organization. We're encouraging people who are marginalized by gender, sexuality, ethnicity, class, and personal experience to submit material to Razor Cake. Let's work with each other. Drops the line at razorcake.org/contact. Rick V said $17 a month. Did I say that Razor Cake is $17 a month? Because that is not a good deal. That's a terrible deal. We'll not charge you $17 for a single issue. You'll get a whole bunch of issues for $17. So don't believe me. Don't listen to what I have to say. I'm not talking these things. I'm not the one sitting at Razor Cake HQ like Daryl. $17 a year. So there you go. Send us $17. We'll send you a fat stack of magazines that are fun to read. And yeah, good shit.
Great shit.
I agree. All right. So it's a little bit after 9. We've been going for a little bit over an hour. So thanks everyone for joining us, and hope you guys have a good night.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks,
You did a
Razor
great
Cake.
job, Will.
Thank you. Only fucked up a few times. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right, we're done.